Finally, in SEAL training, there's a bell. All you have to do to quit is ring the bell. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to wake up at 5 o'clock. Ring the bell, and you no longer have to do the runs, the obstacle course, the PT, and you no longer have to endure the hardships of training. If you want to change the world, don't ever, ever ring the bell.
You are listening to the Kill to Quit podcast hour presented by Kill Clip Performance Drinks.
Enjoy drinking Kill Clip after sweaty workouts, big rides, full rounds, long days, longer nights, or whenever you feel the need to get back up to full speed.
Kill Clip Performance Drinks for Warriors. Ignite, endure, recover. And now, Mark Zinno.
Welcome into another episode of Kill to Quit, brought to you by Kill Clip. This week's guest is a former Naval Academy graduate and currently an American professional stock car racing driver, and he is still in the Naval Reserve. He competes in 4 different racing series. He is Jesse Iwuji here on Kill to Quit, brought to you by Kill Clip. Jesse, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on the show.
All right, so you go from ships to cars. That's the long and the short of it. But let's start back at the very beginning. Because, the Naval Academy's high aspirations. Is that something you knew that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, so I didn't know that I wanted to go to the academy my whole life. That wasn't something that was really on my mind. Just being a kid from Texas, Dallas, Texas, everyone knows Texas has some of the best high school football in the nation. Actually, has the best high school football in the nation. And growing up there doing that, I was like, I want to go play college football. I want to become a college football player, play D1A football, all that stuff. So I worked really, really hard in high school to get better because I wasn't good at first. And I just kept on grinding. And eventually the Naval Academy came knocking at my door. And they wanted to recruit me to play football. So I just looked at the opportunity. And I was like, well, I get to go to a great school that has great education. I'll have a career started for me right when I graduate as a U.S. naval officer. And they have a great football program that's winning. And, with that, I was like, this is just a win-win-win in all different ways. I was like, this is a great opportunity. I was like, and from there, I was like, you know what? I'm Navy all the way.
Well, did you have anybody in your family who was in the military? It's the Naval Academy recruits very specifically, right? Like you have to be smart enough to get in, and they're not recruiting the average football player who just can run fast and jump high and do everything else. So there was something about you that they specifically wanted. But did anybody in your family, were they put off by the idea of military service? Because when you went to the academy, 9/11 had already happened. We were in the middle of 2 wars. Did that scare anybody in your family?
No, I didn't scare anybody in the family. I didn't have any. I didn't have any family members that was ever in the U.S. military. My granddad was in the Nigerian army and went through the Nigerian Civil War back in the '60s. But besides, I didn't have anyone else that was actually in the military. But my parents always, had high respect for the military. But both my parents, the reason they weren't even actually, my dad probably would have been in the U.S. military if he would have gotten to the States a little bit earlier than when he did. But they both immigrated from Nigeria to the U.S. and they had me and my brothers and my sisters and all that stuff. So, life got really busy for them. But no one was. So they weren't really put off for it. They thought it was a great opportunity. They saw a lot of honor in it. They're like, this is going to be really prestigious. But you going to the academy and being an officer in the military. And, my dad, he's all for it. He loved everything about it. So we're like, go for it.
So and military service, that, it was just the next step for you? Did anything appeal about it in particular? Did you mind going through all the military type stuff?
No, I didn't mind. I grew up in a very strict household with very strict and hard parents. So, for me, it wasn't a thing. Like, it wasn't difficult for me. Like, it wasn't like I was just leaving a ton of freedom and going and getting locked down. I was just leaving one lockdown place to go to another lockdown place. So for me, it was no big deal. And just the way we grew up and stuff like that, our parents really pushed us and were really tough on us. So I wasn't never babied, like literally never babied. I think I started cooking my own dinners. I was forced to start cooking my own dinners, I think at age 11.
Wow.
So yeah, it wasn't, because I remember we were kids. I think I was in middle school, and both my parents are working at the same time. So they weren't getting back till late. So yeah, I had to cook dinner for me and my little brothers and my sister, and we did that. That's what we did. It was no biggie. So me going to the academy, that was nothing. I've been grinding since I was a kid.
All right. So you land in Annapolis. You're there. Take me through day one. Was it overwhelming? Was it exciting?
Going to the academy, yeah, it was. So I went to prep school first, the Naval Academy prep school. So that was different, and honestly, I think the prep school was a little bit tougher as far as the whole like their version of their boot camp, just because it wasn't at the academy. So it was almost like Wild Wild West. They could kind of do what they wanted to do, and they didn't have a lot of oversight. And so that I felt like it was a little bit tougher than when we went to the academy, where it had to be a little bit more regimented and all that stuff. So, it was exactly what I expected. Luckily, I had a couple friends who had went to the academy prior to that, who played football for them, and kind of talked me through the whole thing, letting me know, hey, this is how it's going to be. Don't worry. All they're doing is pretty much yelling at you and making you do this, making you do that. Like, it's just all part of the game. Just survive it. So going into it wasn't like a surprise. It wasn't like, oh my God, they didn't tell me about this, which some other athletes who came, they felt that way because they didn't have anyone to guide them through. So they thought it was going to be all nice and cherry. And then they get there and like, wait, why are these people yelling at me again? So, it wasn't too bad at first. A lot of yelling and a lot of getting up early, and you just had to push through. At the end of the day, they can't hit you. So what's the worst they can do?
But they could hit you on the football field. So how was your first experience there?
So playing football and college football, it was nice. I mean, at the prep school, it was my first opportunity to play past the high school football level, play against a bunch of athletes who had just got out of high school. We were all kind of the same age, same type, all that stuff. So we're all, we weren't worried about, oh man, we got to go play against all these other people who were like 2-3 years into playing football or college football. We were just all against each other and against other junior colleges. And then when I got to the academy, that's when we stepped onto the big stage. And now I was like, wow, I'm going to be playing on national TV. I'm going to be playing against people who I've been watching on TV the last few years of my life. Like Brady Quinn at Notre Dame. I'm like, wow, I'm like stepping on the same field of this guy that I've been watching, while in high school. Like, this is nuts. But it was really cool, and the experience was huge. I mean, just going to all the different stadiums we went to, playing against all the different teams we played against, going to all the bowl games, one of the coolest experiences ever.
Yeah, and I guess, all in told, as you go through the Naval Academy experience, what stands out the most about it to you? Like, what do you take with you still today?
Some of the things, one, leadership, being able to lead people, being able to figure out what it takes to motivate them and get them to do a specific job and a specific duty, and how to take people, gather a group of people, give them a direction, and take a project from point A to point B. That's all stuff I learned at the academy and also while in the Navy as an officer. And then public speaking, being able to speak to a crowd, managing time management. I mean, playing football, having military duties, and a rigorous 18 to 22 credit hour school schedule workload. Adding that all together for 4 years in a row, you really learn how to manage your time, and you learn how to just work and grind. So putting all that together, that's what I took from the academy, and it helped develop me and build me into who I am today.
Yeah, from the football standpoint, Jesse, you guys were really good all 4 years you were there. You played in some big-time bowl games and everything else. Navy football, what is, your memories of that overall?
Overall, I'll take a lot of good memories from it. It was fun. I mean, when you senior year getting to go to, Ohio State and play at Ohio State in front of 107,000 people, all 4 years playing against Army, playing against Air Force, beating Army and Air Force all 4 years, those rivalry games with all that energy and knowing what the game was really about. I mean, we had a football game that we're playing, but knowing that all these people were going to graduate eventually and we're all going to be serving one team, one fight, the big old U.S. Armed Forces team, we're all going to be together. That was cool. It was cool to know that, knowing that, hey, like, today I'm going to tackle you, and you're going to hit me, and you're going to catch a ball, and I'm going to try to intercept one, and I'm going to block your field goal today. But here in a few years, we might be standing side by side, at some base in the Middle East and working together.
Yeah, I just would like to circle back about the Commander-in-Chief trophies and stuff. You guys don't have that anymore. I just want to As an Army guy, I have to just, keep everybody up to date on what's going on.
We don't have it anymore. I'm just glad while I was there, I had it. So I don't know.
Well, you didn't experience a loss while you guys were there. I mean,
No, and the crazy thing is when I was at the prep school, we played Army's prep school and we beat them. All 4 years of the academy, we beat Army. And then when I graduated, I went back to the prep school to coach the prep school football team for that season. And then we beat Army again. So I just really don't know what it means to lose to them. I mean, I played against them in every way you could think of in football. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, some of us have had that experience, so we'll let you have your experience and we'll have ours. Anyway, let's get back to non-football issues. So the end of the academy comes up. You graduate, you get your commission. Proud moment in your life. Was it more proud for your parents than it was for you? Kind of deal. Talk me through it.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably more proud for them than it was for me. For me, it was just, I don't know. For me, it was just expected. Like I knew that I was going to go to college and I was going to graduate and I was going to go start living a successful life. That's what I knew I was going to do. Right. So for me, it was just expected. Like there was no alternative. It wasn't like, oh my God, this is amazing. I can't believe I just did this. I was just like, oh, this is cool. Next step. Now it's time to get paid. So I was just like, it wasn't my parents were super joyous because, they're like, oh, their son just went to the academy and graduated, all that stuff. For me, I was just like, okay, cool story. I just did this, cool, but let's keep going.
Did you? I mean, you talked about wanting to play football so much. I mean, I know you're at the Naval Academy and you kind of know where that ends, but did you ever think about the pros or hoping that would be something real, or you just always had that out of your mind?
It was something that I thought about, but I think once I got to the academy, with just everything going on, with all the school workload we had and the military duties and our football schedule and all that stuff, just everything put together, it was pretty overwhelming. There's just so much to do. So my mind went from like, okay, am I going to try to go to the NFL to just, I need to make sure I survive, So, and once I got into that survival mode, I wasn't really doing anything extra to make myself more exceptional to exceptional to a point where I could have a chance to go to the NFL. I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I look back on it, I'm like, oh man, I wonder if I just put more effort into it, what could happen? So I told myself, once I started my new journey in life, this whole racing and NASCAR journey, I told myself I'm going to apply the same concepts that I learned in high school to make myself exceptional enough to get recruited to play college football. I'm going to apply that now so that I could make it sure I make it to the top level of where I'm at.
All right, so you graduate in 2009. Again, it bears worth repeating. There's still 2 wars going on. But what is your naval assignment? Where are you going? What are you told?
Yeah, so I graduated 2010. 2010, I graduated. 2009 was my last football season.
I'm sorry. Okay, 2010.
Graduated, so right out of the academy, I went to the Naval Academy prep school for about 5 months to help coach their football team because I didn't have a ship that I had to go to just yet. And after I did that, then I went to San Diego and was stationed on board a minesweeper. And I was with that minesweeper for about 2 years. Based out of San Diego, we deployed once. That one deployment was in 2012 for about 10 months to the Arabian Gulf. And then after that, transferred to my next ship, which was an amphib. I was on the USS Comstock, which is the LSD class ship, and was there for 2 years again.
All right, hold on. Let me for the audience who isn't military, doesn't understand all this stuff. Let's let's go back to what the first ship that you were on that deployed, to the Arabian Gulf. What were you doing there and everything else?
Yeah, so when I deployed out there, we were just doing a lot of different exercises with our forces, doing different exercises with foreign forces. We did a lot of stuff with the Bahrainis and the Saudis and the UAE and the British. We did a lot of stuff with the Brits. So we basically just did different exercises out there at sea, working on mine sweeping operations where we would basically set up exercises where we'd try to sweep mines or hunt for mines and things like that. Because as a minesweeper, that's what you do. Minesweepers, you hunt for mines and you neutralize mines.
Hunt for mines on the ground or in the ocean?
In the ocean.
Okay,
right.
Ocean. I want people to be clear on this here.
Yeah, in the ocean, and there's all different kind of mines. I mean, mine warfare is nuts. It's not just these floating bombs. That's actually the worst kind of mine is a floating mine. But actually, it's one of the worst, but yeah, there's all different kind of mines. There's mines that are tethered to these anchors to the sea. So there's mines that literally will be tethered to something sitting right there at somewhat whatever depth in the ocean, and they can actually hear the acoustics of a ship, and they can determine that this ship is not the ship that they want to blow up, but this one, it sounds like an aircraft carrier. I'm going to blow up when I hear an aircraft carrier type ship come by.
That's impressive. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're out there doing that, and then you get to your second ship. You said it was LSD. I just want people to be clear on what LSD is, because some people might have the wrong idea.
So LSD class ship, it's a bigger ship. So the Minesweeper is about 224 feet long. The LSD is about 609 feet long.
Wow.
Minesweeper has about 85 or so crew members. The LSD has about 400 or so with the Navy crew, and then when the Marines come on board, you get to about 700, 800 people on board. But with the amphib, the whole mission with that is ship to shore operation. So amphibs carry Marines and equipment and aircraft and things like that, and hovercraft. And we have a stern gate in the rear of the ship that opens up, and we allow the craft to get into the water to head to the beach. And when it heads to the beach, they do beach type operations. So for people who really have no clue, maybe you can think about Saving Private Ryan, when they were sending all those different craft to the beach. The ships that take them to that point, those are amphibs.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, because when you say LSD, people must have thought it was a hell of a trip. Pun intended. There you go.
No pun intended.
There you go.
Yeah, I was on LSD going to the Arabian Gulf.
Exactly. You never know. I mean, there is opium in Afghanistan, so there is that. Anyway, he is Jesse Iwuji, our guest this week on Kill the Quit, brought to you by Kill Cliff. When we come back, we'll get through Jesse's time in the Navy and on to becoming a NASCAR driver. That's coming up next. It is Kill the Quit, brought to you by Kill Cliff. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Kill the Quit podcast hour, presented by Kill Cliff Performance Drinks.
Kill Cliff, performance drinks for warriors to get you up, get you through, and get you back to full speed.
And now, back to the show with host Mark Zinno.
Welcome back to Kill the Quit, brought to you by Kill Cliff. I'm your host, Mark Zinno. This week's guest is Jesse Iwuji, former Naval Academy football player, Naval Academy graduate, now member of the Naval Reserves, and currently a professional race car and NASCAR driver. When we last left, Jesse was out at sea deploying in the war on terror. Let me ask you, in that environment, both on the ship, we hear so much about the connection between a football team and the military. Obviously, we see all the connections, through advertising and everything else. But how much of it was similar for you in your experience?
It was very similar. Football, team sport in the military, it's a team, it's another team type thing where everyone has their job, everyone has their duty, everyone has to do their job. Like if I'm a quarterback and I'm trying to do the job with the running back, like then I can't do my job, and I'm throwing interceptions or I'm making mistakes, I'm doing this and that. If I'm a wide receiver, I'm trying to do the job of offensive lineman, then I'm not catching the football, I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. So everyone has to do their job for the whole thing to work. It's the same thing in the military on the ship. Like if I don't focus on, as an officer of the deck when I'm up there on the bridge, if I don't focus on navigating the ship and making sure we're doing everything safely and getting from point A to point B, then we put ourselves in harm's way. If the engineers aren't doing their particular job, the ship's not moving. If the navigation team isn't doing their job, then they're plotting routes that are going to go run me aground. If the folks back in the Combat Information Center aren't doing their job, then we don't see some of the different threats that are coming our way. So everyone has to do their job, and that's the same thing in football. Like anytime you start doing someone else's job, you leave that gap in that opening for your job that you're supposed to be doing, and things break down. So very, very similar for both of them.
When you're going through, the combat deployment experience, how much of, your time at the Naval Academy and being part of the football team did you feel like prepared you for the whole thing?
It prepared me a lot. Time management was huge. All the different things that we had to do. I mean, your days at the academy, you pretty much had 15, 16, 17, 18-hour days at the academy when it came to your class schedule, football, film, eating, and doing all your homework. By the time you're all done with all that stuff, it's about 11, 12 p.m. and you're going to sleep, and then you're waking up about 6 hours later to get your day going again. So, doing that every single day at the academy for 4 years really prepared me for getting out there to the fleet, where you had very long days too. I remember I actually had a day on deployment where I was up for about almost 30 hours straight, 30 something hours straight. Literally throughout the entire night up working on some stuff with my division, because we had to get this done before we went underway, and we stayed up the entire time. And basically, it's almost like quite a bit of time. So the academy prepared me to do this, so nothing was a shock when I went out there to the fleet.
All right, so you spent 7 years on active duty, and I know we're fast forwarding a lot through, a lot of that time before you make the decision to go to the Naval Reserves. But kind of cap or at least give me your active duty experience. How you look back on it, what was positive about it, what was negative.
Yeah, active duty experience was good. I mean, I learned so much while active duty. Just even like I used to be very nervous when I used to do public speaking. So especially when I was at the academy, I was trying to get better at it, but I just couldn't. I was not great at it. And getting out there to the fleet, you were forced to do it. You had to do it because you had these different briefs. You had to brief to your ship, brief to your captain, brief to your division, you name it. So I had to get used to speaking in public and being confident with it. And I learned that all while, like being out there in the fleet. Other things too, just learning how to deal with people and all their situations. At the end of the day, being an officer in the military, all your enlisted personnel below you, they're supposed to follow your orders and stuff, and they really have to do it just according to the rules. But at the same time too, you kind of got to get them to believe in you and trust in you and trust that what you're telling them is the right thing, that it makes sense. It's going to lead them in a safe way. And you're not going to put them in a bad spot, in a bad position. You're not going to do anything that's going to tell them to do something that's going to get them hurt or break equipment or whatnot. But that takes time too to build that kind of respect from them. So you learn so much, from start to finish, and all the while you're trying to learn every ship in the Navy, learn all our combat systems, all our navigation systems, all our administrative systems, like everything. You're trying to learn all that stuff, at a young age, and you get thrown into the fire, but just makes you a stronger person.
What was the ultimate decision? What was the ultimate reason and decision to leave active duty?
So going from active duty to the reserves, the big reason that I wanted to make that transition was because what I had going on in life, and that was this racing journey, NASCAR. So back when I graduated the academy, I had bought a Dodge Challenger, and I used to take it to drag strips and have fun with it, just kind of on an amateur level. Then I bought a Corvette that I used to take to road course tracks and do different track days, just open track days that anyone can go do. And after doing that for some years, I was like, you know what? Like, I have some skill in this. Every time I go, I'm always like one of the fastest. I was like, why don't I try to take this to like the next level? And then one night, January 2014, I wrote on my whiteboard, become a professional race car driver. And that's literally where the journey began, to become a professional race car driver. Through a lot of grind, a lot of effort, a lot of being resourceful, and praying every night, I was able to work my way from racing late model stock cars in 2015 to now here in 2018 racing in the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. And when I throughout this journey, once I hit about May 2017, I knew that the journey was going to keep going up. So I was like, this is a time where I should exit active duty, go to the reserve, so that I can have a little bit more time to focus on this journey, and I don't have to worry about, like, oh man, I need to go back to sea here pretty soon.
But let me ask you, I mean, how do you hone that craft when you're out on a ship for 6-9 months at a year?
Well, so I had 2 deployments. My last deployment was ended December 2014. So after that, I went to shore duty, and I was at shore command. So once I hit shore duty, that's when I knew that I could actually pursue this journey, because prior to that, it would have been tough if I was deploying or going out to sea for a month or weeks or whatever at a time. It was going to be tough for me to actually race. So once I went to shore duty and I wasn't on a ship, then that opened up my time, and I could actually pursue being a race car driver.
So did this go back to like you as a kid? Did you play race cars as a kid? Is it something you always liked back then?
I always liked cars since I was little. I was a huge Fast and the Furious fan. I just a car guy. I just liked cars. I thought they were cool, but I honestly never thought I was going to race. I never had this dream that, oh man, I want to become a professional race car driver. Like that never hit me. That didn't hit me until really, honestly, I didn't even start thinking about racing until probably middle of the academy. Probably sophomore year or so of the academy. Yeah, so I would say sophomore year of the academy, I really started looking into it because I was just so interested in it. I was like, this is cool. Racing's cool. But I never thought about NASCAR. I never thought that I was going to race in NASCAR. Like it wasn't even a thought. And then when I went to my first race, actually what happened was in one weekend, March 2014, I met a guy and I was telling him about all the little stuff I was doing racing wise. And he's like, oh, that's interesting. And then he asked me, he's like, would you like to test with my late model stock car team? And late models are like the lowest level in NASCAR. It's like what you see at your local home tracks near wherever you live. And I was like, you know what? That'd be cool to test with the team. And he's like, yeah, you should come out in May and do a test. I'm like, okay, that's awesome. That was a Saturday, right? The very next day on Sunday, I went to my first NASCAR race. Like Cup Series race, the one you see on TV. And I went to that to watch it. Never been to a race before. And so by having that guy ask me that question on Saturday and then Sunday me going to that race and watching it, I would put two and two together. And I'm like, this is a sign. This is a sign right here from up above that like this is what I need to do. I don't know why, but two things just happened in one week. And I got asked to test the late model stock car, and I went to my first race and I loved it. I was like, this is where I belong. I was like, there's no other place. This is where I belong. And that's where it began.
Wow, it's pretty impressive. Let me just ask you a dumb question. You have a lot of speeding tickets?
I don't actually. I really
okay.
don't. So people ask me all the time, how do you go from going 150, 180 miles per hour on the track and then get onto normal streets? Don't you want to like go really fast? I'm like, no, it's the complete opposite. When we race, there's so much adrenaline rush. There's so much going on. There's so much stress happening that once we're finally done with it, the last thing we want to do is be racing on the street. Like, when you're going crazy fast on the street, that's because you just want that rush, right? We already got the rush out of us. We're tired. We just want to like go to sleep. So we want to get wherever we're going, and that's it. That's why, like I think most drivers can probably attest to that. A lot of them don't. We don't just speed like that on the highway. We don't need to, because we know the next weekend we're going to be going faster than anyone will possibly be going on the highway.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I mean, it was sort of tongue in cheek, but the logic of the whole thing makes sense when you put it in those terms. So tell me just real quick before we get fully immersed in the NASCAR thing about the Naval Reserves, and you're in that now. What's your job? What are you doing? Because, that stuff still is a big part of your life, I assume.
Yeah. So in the reserves, it's a lot different than active duty, a lot more flexible. You're doing 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year of time instead of 365 days a year. And while doing it, I'm stationed out of Ventura, California. So I'm at Naval Base Ventura. That's where our NOSC is. That's where we drill out of each weekend that we do it, one weekend a month. And, my unit is Naval Beach Group 1. I've been there for about a year now, and that's pretty much my drill unit. And we just, on drill weekends, we do anything from just admin, administrative type work to sometimes we do some training stuff with our active duty component down in San Diego. We do all different kind of things. But the biggest thing is just to keep our readiness up, so that if for some reason, some country or organization or group out there decides to test America again, if we need to be called up, we're ready to be called up.
What did your parents say when you told them that you were going to go race cars?
They thought I was crazy. They're like, what are you doing? And I told them, I was like, I want to race. That's it. Like, and they know me. They know that I'm pretty set in my ways, so that the moment I decide I'm going a certain route, once I decided, there's absolutely no one or nothing that's going to stop me. It doesn't matter what it is. Like, it's not possible. So, they knew that. That's what they were like. We're not going to try to stop you. We know that no matter what we say or do, you're just going to go this way and you're going to make it, And I was like, yep, that's true. I'm going to make it. It might be tough. There's going to be bumps in the road, and it's all good. I get through it, push through it, figure it out, and keep going.
Did they feel like almost you were wasting what you had done at the Naval Academy and everything you learned in the Navy on a career that really, didn't translate from one to the other?
No, not really. Just because I'm using a lot of the stuff I learned at the academy for this, and what a lot of people don't realize is, actually, I don't really talk about it a lot, is I'm actually also, like, on the side of all this stuff, an entrepreneur too. So I actually started a business, actually putting on drag racing events back in 2015, and it's been pretty successful. And each event weekend we have, on a low end, if it's not a great weekend, we'll have maybe 1,500 people show up. On the better weekends, we'll have 2,500 to 3,000 people show up, with about 100 to 185 cars racing at the event.
Really?
So yeah,
is that? I mean, it seems, for lack of a better term, it seems like such a hidden or dark kind of environment and circle that drag car races and car racers run in. It's not very mainstream, obviously. So how do you find these guys?
Well, it is. It actually is. You just it's funny because the car scene around the country, especially the street car scene, like basically people taking a vehicle from, like, street car vehicle, like one you buy right from the dealership, not a race car, but a street car that's legal, that you can drive on the street, and bring it to the drag strip, to an actual, like, legitimate legal track where you can actually legally race. They bring them to the tracks and they race them. And some of them are stock, where they haven't done any modifications. And some people will literally put anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000 into their vehicle to build it even more, to make it a lot faster and race it. And a lot of them are still street legal. So it's actually a really big scene. I mean, some of the people in this scene, I mean, if you just go through social media, like Instagram and YouTube and stuff, like 1320 Video, their whole thing is going around and filming these kind of vehicles and stuff. And they got, on Instagram, they got over 1 million followers. On YouTube, they have over 4 million subscribers. There's multiple pages. It's a huge scene. And for me to find the guys wasn't difficult. Like, I mean, I've had to put on an event that was appealing to them. And what I did was, I was like, I'm going to try to gather the fastest and the coolest and best street cars in California, and put them in one place 3 weekends a year. And by doing that, it's gotten so much attention. I mean, even, the Instagram page for my events has grown to almost 100,000 followers now in just, really about 2 years.
That is unreal. That's impressive, and that's the Naval Academy, and you're working out right there, because all that hard work certainly comes out.
So the academy. This is the thing with the academy. So a lot of people don't understand is, when you go to school, the academy, or really anywhere, but when you go, like, especially the academy, like, you go there, you're learning, like, we had to take a lot of different classes. I took Calculus 1, Calculus 2, Calculus 3, Chemistry 1, Chemistry 2, Physics 1, Physics 2, Physics 3, Thermodynamics, Differential Equations, Electrical Engineering 1, Electrical Engineering 2, and a lot of other classes like that. And we took all that stuff, but at the end of the day, we don't take all these classes, in a lot of leadership classes, we don't take all these classes just to learn all that theory about math and science and different sciences and engineering. We don't learn all that just so we can apply that direct stuff to real life and have a job within all that stuff. No, we learn all that stuff so that it challenges our minds, and we learn how to critically think, be resourceful, find answers, and solve high-level problems. That's what it teaches us to do, so that we get into the real world. We don't have to use our degrees, whatever we got, whether your degree is in English or in aerospace engineering. You don't have to use your degree to go do something in real life, like whatever. You just have to, all those concepts and skills that you learned from the academy, we were taught all that so that we can go out into the real world and lead companies, lead businesses, lead organizations, and solve high-level problems, and think through critical problems, and be responsible for people and lead people. That's what it taught us to do. So you can go from there and go run, some business in the cheese industry. You can go run some business in the auto industry, in the wherever you like, or go run something. Like, they taught us to go be leaders out there and not followers. And the direction I took was in the auto industry, where, in the auto racing industry, and I'm leading my little group and building it, and it's done really well. And, that's pretty much been it.
He is Jesse Iwuji, a former Naval Academy football player, member of the Naval Reserve, and American professional stock car racing driver. When we come back, we'll get into the nuts and bolts, probably pun intended there as well, of his racing career right here on Kill the Quit, brought to you by Killcliff.
You are listening to the Kill the Quit podcast hour presented by Killcliff Performance Drinks, proud partner of the Navy SEAL Foundation.
Welcome back to Kill the Quit, brought to you by Killcliff. I'm your host, Mark Zinno. This week's guest, Jesse Iwuji, now a professional race car driver, former Naval Academy football player, and current member of the Navy Reserves. All right, so you race for 4 different racing series. You compete in 4 different racing series. Let's kind of go through these. And remember, a lot of our audience doesn't know all the racing stuff, so let's do this by the numbers here, as we say in the military. Kind of take me through each one and how they're different.
Yeah, so when I first started racing in 2015, April 2015 was my first race ever. I raced in the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series. And that series is the lowest level of NASCAR. It's racing late model stock cars, which are 400 horsepower, 450 horsepower stock cars that race at short tracks. So short tracks are anywhere from a quarter-mile oval to half-mile oval. So they're not big like the 2.5-mile Daytona or something like that. They're small little tracks. And, you'll typically have anywhere from 15 to 20-something cars racing at those tracks, for those events. And, you have a crowd of a couple thousand or so, 3,000 people watching. Pretty cool. And then from there in 2015, going into 2016, I moved up to the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, which is a step above that, where now you're in more of a full-size race car. It's bigger. They're faster. They're making about 600 horsepower. They race at those same quarter-mile to half-mile ovals, and they race at some of the bigger NASCAR Series tracks, but no bigger than 1 mile. So they race all the way up to 1 mile tracks. I ran NASCAR K&N Series for 2016, 2017, and then early 2018, I moved up from there to the ARCA Series. The ARCA Series, they are the same exact car, but with a different, bigger motor that makes 700 horsepower, and they race at a lot of the Cup Series tracks. They race at Daytona, Talladega, Charlotte, Pocono, Iowa. They race at all different kind of places. And it gives you that opportunity to be in that same type of K&N car, but with more horsepower and racing at bigger tracks to give you that bigger track experience with the speed and everything. After I did that for about the first half of the year, here in August, I made the jump up from there to the first level of the National Series level of NASCAR. So in the National Series of NASCAR, you have 3 series. The bottom one is the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. The next level above that's the NASCAR Xfinity Series. The next level above that is the NASCAR Cup Series, the one that everyone knows of, where you've heard of names like Jeff Gordon, Danica Patrick, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, all those people. So after I moved up to the Truck Series, which was the first level of that, I've been doing that for, I've done 2 races now in that series this year, being the first naval officer to race in the Truck Series. And next step above that is going to be moving to the Xfinity Series. So right now I'm just trying to gain experience so I can make that happen.
Take me through your first race. What were you thinking? What were you feeling? What was the result?
Yeah, so my first race in late model stock car.
Yeah,
my first, it was crazy. A lot of anxiety afterwards, but racing my first race ever. I didn't know what was going on. I really didn't know what I was doing just yet. I had only practiced in that car for about how many times? Probably, I think I probably did 3 or 4 practices in that car before I even actually raced. And it was a learning experience for sure. I was probably about mid-pack speed. I had I think I was about maybe running about 13th or so during that race, and there's about 20, 21 cars at that race. And for me to be doing that, to be running somewhere in the middle of the pack, and my first race ever, I guess when I knew that I had some type of skill, I was like, you know what, like I can do this. Like it's my first race ever, never raced prior to this, and I'm keeping up with everyone. I'm outrunning half the field, almost half the field. And I'm close to everyone else. So I'm like, I'm actually doing all right. So maybe I can blossom this into like something legit. So it was cool. And during that race, people bumped and grinded on me. Somebody spun me out at one point in the race. I didn't wreck, thank God. But it was a learning experience, and then we just kept on going from there.
So, I mean, did you ever feel like you were in over your head? Or, I mean, do you have a race early on where you get totally outclassed and you're like, maybe this isn't for me? What's the maturation process for this whole thing?
I mean, I never thought I was in over my head. I just always knew that I had a long ways to go, you know? So I was like, you know what? Like, that's definitely possible. I can do this. I just got to keep grinding. Because anything in life, like if you're going after something big, you're going to have to dig deep. I mean, it's like building a skyscraper. You don't build a skyscraper with a 6-inch slab of concrete for your foundation. When you build a skyscraper, you got to dig deep into the ground, the higher you want to go up. You know, so that's when I knew, like, I want to go to a very high level of racing. I mean, I'm going to have to dig pretty deep, and there's going to be some lows. So I'm going to have to go through all these lows. And I went through some lows. You know, it's tough finding sponsorship to keep going through it. It was tough. I had some wrecks that I had early. You know, all that stuff, you know, contributed to a really rough start, you know, at first. But then from there, I got through it all, and things got better, and things slowly just kept on ramping up and up and up and up and up. And there was always bumps along the way, you know, a lot of good things that happened, and I had some bumps, and a lot of good things that happened, and I had some bumps. So it's just part of the process, and all it is just weeding out the people who don't have what's in them to have it in them to make it to the top level of racing.
So give me some of those traits, because that's what I was kind of thinking about. Like, you know, is it similar to being a football player? Like, what's the mentality to be a great race car driver?
To be a great race car driver, you know, some of those traits is you definitely got to have really good focus. You got to be focused. But when you're in that race car, you know, you're not just, it's not like going to a go-kart track, you know, K1 speed or something like that, and doing a little 10-minute race. You know, when you're on the track, you're racing for 2-3 hours or so, even more, you know, at a time. And you got to be focused because everyone around you is trying to get to the same goal. Everyone's trying to have the best possible finish they can have. So everyone is really on point. I mean, you look at some of these lap times in qualifying, you know, I mean, everyone's within like, you know, a few tenths of a second, you know, depending on the track. Some tracks it's spread out more than that. But on the short tracks, like, you know, the tracks that are, you know, like a half mile or so like that, I mean, the whole field will be within, you know, 6 or 7 tenths of a second. And if you think about it, that's like the blink of an eye right there. I mean, wow, it's like all these cars within that small, you know, frame right there. But it takes a ton of focus. You got to be physically fit. The race car is not nice and cool and air conditioned like your street car. It's very hot. The temperatures in the race car can be anywhere from 120 to 160 degrees, depending on the day. And you also have a race suit on. So you have a race suit on, you're sweating your butt off, you're losing 3 to 5, 6 pounds every time you race, worth of water. So you gotta be physically fit and be ready to handle the heat stress. You gotta be a really good communicator because during the race, you gotta talk through your radio to your spotter who's up top at the top of the stands looking down on you, making sure that you're clear when you're doing different things on the track. You got to talk to your crew chief, your crew, all that stuff through the radio. You're doing all that while trying to race at 150, 180 miles per hour. And then, you know, also too, just outside of the race car, you got to be somebody who is good with the media, someone who's good with promoting and marketing and all that stuff. Because at the end of the day, to keep us on the track, you need the funding. To get the funding, you're some really, really rich millionaire and you just fund it yourself, or you have great partners and sponsors on board who want to use your racing campaign to promote their products and services and business and companies, or just do business to business type deals. And when you mix all that together, you got to be a great face to that program that they're trying to do, that marketing campaign they're trying to do. And that's all part of, I think, everything together being a really good racing driver.
Wow. I mean, it seemed like such a simple answer. Find gas, hit pedal, go. I mean, you know, there's clearly a lot more to it than that.
A lot more. I think there's more off-track stuff than there is on-track stuff that you got to do. Because if you don't do the off-track stuff right, then you're not going to be on the track.
That's true. No, I mean, clearly there is that. So, I mean, let's talk goals for you. Like, do you want to get to, you know, the highest level of this thing, or can you make a good living just where you are right now? What's next?
Yeah, the goal is to make it to the top level in NASCAR. I want to race in the Cup Series eventually. I'll get there. It's definitely a lot of grind. It's a lot of effort. It's a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of work. But I'm gonna make it there. That's the ultimate goal. Where I'm at right now in racing right now, I haven't made a dime. I don't make a living off this racing stuff. My living I've made is through the Navy, through my business that I have, through my one other day job I had for a little bit. That's basically how I make my living. It hasn't been through racing yet. I really won't make any living through racing probably till I get to the Cup Series level. Which is fine. I'm not looking to make money off of racing. I love racing, and I want to really prove a point, which is me getting to the Cup Series and racing in the Cup Series full time. And that will be my biggest point to prove to the world. I just want to show people that no matter how impossible your goal or dream might be for whatever, that you can do it. And here's the concepts of life to apply to what you're doing. And those concepts, you apply to anything, you will get to wherever you want to go.
All right, hypothetically speaking, if we put you on a racetrack now with, the Jimmy Johnsons of the world, the Kyle Bushes, all those guys, what do they have? What do they do outside of the off-track stuff? I'm just talking about the stuff on the track itself. What do they do that's so much better and different than you?
Well, for them, they with all the racing experience, there's a lot of things they'll do a lot better than me right now. Their focus, right? Their focus is on another level. These guys, they know how to be on point, hit their marks, run the proper line for that racetrack consistently. And they can do it for hours and hours and hours on end. I mean, they literally can, their consistency on the track of where they put the car on the track, depending on how the car is driving, depending on how the track, the surface, the race surface is changing and how it's feeling, they can figure that out really quick and put their car at those marks very consistently and pretty much perfectly throughout a whole race. I'm still learning how to do that. I might be able to do that some laps, but then I'll have a lap where I have a brain fart and I don't do it right, whereas for those guys, they don't brain fart. They don't have those brain farts. They're past that. They've been racing long enough where it's literally second nature for them. Also, too, they're able to get to maximize the capability of whatever car they're in. That's what I'm trying to get to. That's what I'm working on getting to a point where I can jump into any race car, whether it's Truck Series, Xfinity car, Cup Series car, or late model, you name it. It doesn't matter. Whatever I jump into, I'm trying to get myself to a point just like them where they can jump into it and within a few laps be maximizing the capability of that car. So however fast that particular car can go due to its setup, due to whatever motors in it, whatever you name it, like if that car can go 150 miles per hour, like that's its max it can do at this particular track, they're able to do that 150. I want to get to a point where I can do that and not, where like it can do 150, but me personally, am only skilled enough to do 148, So that's the thing they have on me, just being able to maximize the capability of whatever vehicle they're in, and do it consistently throughout an entire race.
How many times have you wrecked?
Oh, wrecked. Huh. Over my whole career, probably had so maybe like 8 or so wrecks.
Do you remember your first one?
Oh yeah, I definitely do.
Were you scared?
No, it wasn't scared. It's just part of it. Like I don't know. You don't. When you commit yourself towards racing, you're gonna be involved in wrecks. So you just gotta kind of already know that's gonna happen. Like it can't be a surprise. You can't be like, oh my god, I just wrecked. You gotta be like, okay, cool. That's the first of many to come in life. So it's like fumbling in football. Like if you're gonna be carrying the ball, like it's gonna eventually happen. No matter how good you are, you're gonna be involved. Whether you want to or not. So yeah, no, it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't bad. I think when it wasn't one that took me out of the race day or anything like that. Like basically, I went into a corner and the car got a little bit sideways. Basically, got really sideways and backed it into the wall. So it kind of screwed up the rear part of the car quite a bit. But it wasn't so bad that we couldn't race it. We just basically kind of bent it right back and fixed it, and boom, we're off and went to race, and I was still pretty quick. So that wasn't a big deal. But I've been in some wrecks that took me out of a race day, and those ones suck.
Any injuries from a wreck at all, or no?
No, I've never had any real injuries minus some minor concussions. I probably have one or two minor concussions. Yeah, one or two.
Well,
one that I for sure
I would say I'd make a joke about concussions, saying the ones you can remember. So there is that.
Yeah.
I guess just if somebody out there listening wants to get into race car driving, what do you tell them?
So for somebody out there trying to get into racing, the big thing I tell you is, there's a lot of parts and pieces to it. It's more than just on track stuff and racing. One, you're going to need to get some type of training before you even get on the track. And with technology nowadays, we have these things called simulators, and they're the best way to learn how to drive these cars without having to spend the money to actually be on the track. And they're very, very realistic. They're very, very close. I spend about 1 to 2 hours a day on my simulator, just practicing and learning muscle memory stuff with, how to enter a corner, where you position the car on the track, for whatever you're trying to do, whether you're passing someone or trying to hold your line or defensively drive against someone, you name it. I say get on the simulator and spend a lot of time on the simulator until you're super comfortable and you're actually good at racing people on the simulator, and you're stable and you're consistent. From there, you're going to want to find a lower level racing team, whatever kind of racing you want to do, whether it's NASCAR, sports cars, you name it. Find lowest level of that. Like you got to be resourceful. So you got to get on the internet and do some research, figure out what low level is for whatever series you want to do. Go to those tracks where they do those stuff, meet those teams, meet those drivers, talk to them, and see where you can find a place to race. Like see if people have extra vehicles that you could race. Maybe they say, hey, I got this extra vehicle. If you pay for the tires and the fuel and my crew, then I'll let you race, Or some people might be like, it's actually doesn't too much to run this vehicle. I'll let you run it. Just, whatever, pay for whatever maintenance I need to do on it. Something like it's going to cost some type of money. Like not a lot of people are just going to throw you in for free, because at the end of the day, tires aren't free, fuel isn't free, and people's time and effort isn't free. So
right.
There's going to be some type of money in it. You're going to have to find that money. So that comes to the funding side of it. Now a lot of people, in racing, you see all the sponsors. A lot of people think that, I'm going to start racing, so I'm just going to go find a sponsor right now. Well, no one wants to give you money just to fund your idea or your dream. Like they're going to give you money because they're going to get some type of return on their investment, which they're probably not going to get if you're just starting the race. So really, you're going to have to save up money yourself. Go get a really good job and save up that money. Or if your parents can give you some money, great. Or go start your own thing, start your own business, whatever, and earn that money. But you're going to need some money. So focus on the funding side of it. And then once you kind of got all that in the road, that's what you're going to do right there to really get into racing. And then if you're resourceful enough, then from there, you'll figure out the rest. Yeah. But that's kind of what you got to do to get that start.
Well, listen, you've accomplished a lot, not only as a naval officer and a football player, but certainly starting out in your racing career. Jesse, we wish you nothing but the best, man. Good luck going forward, and we certainly appreciate being part of Kill the Quit, man.
Yeah, most definitely. Thank you for having me on the show. And for everyone out there going after your goals and dreams, just keep on grinding. Remember, even when it gets hard in the darkest point of the night, the sun will still rise. And no matter what anyone says, don't ever let anyone's opinion of you become your reality. 2 famous quotes from some famous motivational speakers.
Great words. Once again, we appreciate you guys tuning in to Kill the Quit, brought to you by Kill Cliff. We'll talk to you next week.
WFOM
and W292EV Marietta,
a Dickey broadcasting station.
Live from the Wellstar Health System Studios.
1230 and 106.3 FM, The Sports X.